Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines, and welcome to Earth Day. I'm Reverend Jennifer Brooks, and it's a pleasure to see you here this morning to share this wonderful Earth Day service we have planned for you. Now let's rise in body or spirit as we sing together number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Susan. Susan, stand to my right, please.
What's that?
Good morning. My name is Susan Gross, and I'm a member of the celebrant team. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I think I might have gotten that backwards. On behalf of the entire congregation, I bid you welcome. We especially welcome the families with young children and the infants that bring us the sounds of new life. Today's service is for all ages. Small children may appreciate the We Worship space in the back of the auditorium, and childcare is available for the littlest ones. As we begin this Sunday morning celebration, please take a moment to silence your electronic devices, but we do encourage you to post and share the inspirational moments. We gather in this sanctuary with our doubts as well as our convictions, with our fears and our hopes, with our failures and our aspirations, with our sorrows and our joys. Whatever the faiths you have known, if any, we welcome you here. Whoever you are, whatever your identity, whomever you love, we welcome you here. After the service, especially if this is a familiar place for you, and even if this is your very first visit, reach out and talk to someone you don't know or don't know very well. May each of us here do what we can to breathe life into the idea of welcome, to build beloved community, and to experience the wonder and interconnectedness of life. Again, welcome to First Unitarian.
Thank you, Susan. Our life together invites us into community, to learn and grow, to seek and serve, to encounter the wonder of life more deeply. So check the insert in your order of service to see what invitations may be waiting for you. In our life together as a caring community, we support one another through times of sorrow and celebrate with one another during times of joy. Our caring ministry team has a number of caring cards out at the caring ministry table for you to sign so that we can brighten the day of someone who's in need of this community's support. In our life together as a community that remembers its past and looks to its future, we're exploring our history and heritage in a series of potlucks. The last one is today at 4 p.m. It's family friendly. Take a look at the timeline in Channing to get a sense of what current members of the congregation have to say about our history. In our life together as a community of lifelong learners, during April, we're experiencing some of the worship arts enhancements that the celebrant team has created to illustrate this much theme of emergence. And today, we'll sing again, I Know This Rose Will Open. We're doing it in a slightly different way this week. And today, it's somewhat more complicated, so join in as you're comfortable, and the choir will lead us in that. These enhancements and other innovations in our Sunday services will be the subject of a congregational stakeholder meeting in mid-May, when members will have a focused opportunity to share their perspectives and experiences. And now I invite our board president, Mike Stimson, up for a transition minute.
During February and March, nearly 200 of us participated in visioning circles. At each circle, scribes diligently recorded the ideas and longings we have for the future of this congregation. On Saturday morning, May 12, we'll put those notes to work in a visioning workshop. Together, we'll sort through our responses and discover our shared vision. Even those of us who weren't able to make it to a visioning circle are welcome at this workshop. Join in to help identify what's most important about this congregation's ministry and what values lie at its heart. Again, that's Saturday morning, May 12th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mark your calendars.
Thank you, Mike. Well, today being Earth Day, I thought I'd take you back into the past a year, and this is the word cloud that was developed at last year's Earth Day service, where members here shared what you love about our planet and what you do to protect it. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, we have a principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at how a group of young people, children and youth, have taken action to protect the Earth from the negative effects of climate change. In August of 2015, 21 remarkable young people brought a lawsuit against the United States government, asking the Federal District Court of Oregon to compel the government to create a plan to stabilize the climate. After nearly 3 years of legal challenges, last month the courts have finally ruled that the case at last will go to trial in October. 3 years. It's an unusual lawsuit, but what's not so unusual is the leadership of these children and youth. Their message is about the effects of climate change, and it's a message not just for the court and the government, it's for all of us. In our service this morning, 10 of our First Unitarian children and youth will share with us the voices and vision of these remarkable young people. And now, may the sound and vibration of this bell and the beautiful music that follows help each of us to be mindful and centered in this moment. Part 1, it's not out there. For the kids who brought the lawsuit, climate change is personal. And now we'll hear from 3 of them. You use one of these mics, whichever's comfortable, and move this so you can see it, okay?
People wonder why we're suing the U.S. government over something as big and out there as climate change. But for me, it's not out there. A few weeks ago, I literally stepped out of my bed and was up to ankles in climate change. They called it a 1,000-year flood, meaning it should only happen every 1,000 years or so. But in my state, Louisiana, we have had that 1,000-year flood and 8 500-year floods in less than 2 years. My family's home was destroyed in that flood. So for me, it's personal. It's now. It's where I live or not.
I grew up in Port Orchard, Washington, in the end of a half-mile dirt road. I learned about Buddhism and herbatism from my mom. When I was 12, I joined Plant for the Planet. It's a youth group that has planted 4 billion trees worldwide. Would you be willing to change places with me? Now I'm 17 now. I'm fit. I have my whole life ahead of me. I'm super fast reader. I'm crazy about vanilla bean ice cream. I recently fell in love with snowboarding. I play a little ukulele and I sing. And a few years ago I sued the Washington state government for a cleaner climate and I won. On the downside, however, I'm a little disorganized. I don't clean my room as much as I should. My mom says I worry too much. I can't vote. And I sued the government. Nothing's changing. I have my whole life ahead of me, but it's filled with melting ice shelves, monster storms, and the air that's not breathable. Still want to change places with me? I know that suing the federal government seems a little bit extreme, but the government hasn't been held accountable for the failure to protect the life on this planet, forcing us children to take distracting action to save this life on this planet.
I learned about climate change from my grandfather. He's a famous climate scientist, Dr. James Hansen. He was born in Iowa, studied at the University of Iowa, and now he works in New York City at Columbia University. He's the scientist that helped the world understand the damage that greenhouse gases can do. Growing up around him, our family holiday dinners were about global warming, its effects, and what we can still do to stop the greenhouse effect. I might have thought it was all just talk, but the superstorm Hurricane Sandy hit Pennsylvania and climate change suddenly seemed very real. And it's definitely not out there. Our power was out because of Superstorm Sandy. Hailstorms damaged our house. Sometimes I can't get to school because of floods or tornado warnings. And this isn't like the beach. It's Allentown, Pennsylvania. Definitely not a normal target zone for hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes. But hey, climate change. Life is different already. And very soon, it could be very different, and not in a good way. I see what's happening. I understand what's happening. If we today don't stop climate change, it will harm me. It already is harming me, and the entire fabric of human civilization, and all living things on Earth. So it's big, and it's right here.
I'm from Eugene, Oregon. Our only source of water is McKenzie River. It's fed by melting snowpack. Emphasis on melting. What happens when it's gone? I love being outdoors, especially in the solitude of the wilderness. Outdoor sports are my kind of thing. Skiing, rafting, being outside in the clean air. But look what's happening to our air, our water, our beaches, our ski areas. My mom usually works at Willamette Pass Ski Resort, but because of the changing snow levels, she didn't work last winter. and less snow means less water. Climate change may have a different impact in different places, but in some places there's too much water. But the bottom line is the same if you ask the question, what do people need to live? They need clean air, they need clean water. That's what matters.
Where I live, in Oregon, we're already seeing the effect. Where I live, in Oregon, we're already seeing the effect of climate change. Or should I say, feeling the effect of climate change. It's not just the decreasing water levels, it's also the overall increase of dryness, which has increased the frequency of forest fires. I love being outdoors, but I have asthma. These days, the air is hotter and drier. Hot, dry air makes my asthma worse. And when there's smoke from forest fires, how many of you know how it feels to not be able to breathe? Yeah. What matters is that people are able to breathe, that kids are able to breathe. Kids like me. Kids now and kids in the future need to be able to breathe. So that's why I joined this lawsuit. For me, for other kids, for the kids of the future, for breathing. I want children and future generations to be able to live safely on our planet, and that's what matters.
I've always loved the outdoors, especially fishing, but where I live in Colorado, wildfires, water shortages, and floods, sometimes all in the same year, have kept me away from the river for the past 3 years. And hey, I'm only 16. My family used to grow some of our own food, but the weather's been so weird. Hail, heavy rain, droughts, and pests. Some of the invasive species have ruined our garden. All of these are symptoms of climate change. Climate impacts in the U.S. are real and getting worse. We're running out of water, we're facing record-setting heat waves, and wildfires and superstorms are becoming more common. We must act now to protect our planet and our civilization. For me, this is a moral call to protect the common good and not the profits of a selfish few. I'm Catholic, and my faith is important to me. In 2015, when Pope Francis issued his encyclopedia on care for our common home, I was inspired, joining in a lawsuit to ask the federal government to protect our planetary home was a no-brainer for me. I'm honored and blessed that many Catholic groups have come on board to support our case. The need for immediate and wide-scale action to protect Earth's climate is a defining fact of our lives today. Think about it. My world has already changed. The greed of the few is overwhelming the world I knew. I think we have a really good chance of winning. It's hard for legal experts to deny the rights of young people. We are the future. Me, my kids, their grandkids. It's our lives.
I'm Levi D. I'm 10 and I live on a island coast off of Florida. It's 13 feet above sea level. And all my life I've had to deal with algae blooms and monster storms and all the plastic junk that washes up on the beach. I've been a beach cleanup volunteer since I can remember. Climate change is making hurricanes bigger and bigger. After Hurricane Matthew, I helped replant the sand dunes. After Hurricane Irma, I didn't have to go to school anymore. I'm homeschooled now because this storm destroyed the school. It makes me wonder, what are humans doing? We have to find the way of nature. We have to work with the earth. Lots of kids visit their grandparents in a home they've had for years. By the time I'm a parent, my home won't exist anymore. By the time I'm a grandparent, my island won't exist. So much of my life centers around climate change. Mom and I are Unitarian Universalists. One of our principles is to respect the interdependent web of existence. The damage of climate change is all about human disrespect. I was 8 years old when our minister told my mom about the climate change protection lawsuit. My mom said, "Do you want to join it?" I was like, "Yes," because it's all about our lives.
I was raised in the Aztec tradition. The main thing I remember about my childhood is being outside in the forest with my dad, searching for frogs and snakes. It made me feel like I was such a big part of this world. Indigenous people see themselves as the caretakers of the planet, but I learned about human lifestyles, how our greed and ways of living are destroying our planet for profit. It freaks me out. Since I was 6 years old, I've been giving speeches about the need to protect the earth from the climate change. I've written a book on climate change. It was called We Rise. My Kickstarter campaign is funding a hip-hop album with my songs about the earth. Any money from it will support climate education. But I gotta say, kids shouldn't have to be on the front line of climate change. It's the jobs of our leaders to take action for us. That's what our lawsuit is about. When I was 15, I gave a speech to the UN about stopping climate change. Compared to the other things I do, the UN was very sterile. Everyone was in a suit and tie, playing on their phones. Nobody cared. I'm used to performing at musical festivals where the crowd is much more engaged. I'm a climate activist, but based on what I've seen, I'll never be a politician. It would drain my soul of everything that is pure. People tell me that I should run for president, and I think, no, I shouldn't. It's important to stay close to your vision and stay humble. I'll never cut my hair. Climate change is the defining issue of our time. It's about more than just science or law. Politics, it's our lives.
I'm Tia Haddon, age 21, Bend, Oregon. I love cross-country skiing. I've skied competitively since I was little, really little. So a few years ago, I was shocked when suddenly there wasn't enough snow to ski. I mean, all my life, skiing was my life, then nothing. I set out to learn about the climate change and how to stop it. I always assumed that the United States government had my best interests in mind. This is not always the case. I know that now. Because the government knew about the climate change, knew about the science, the future is in such jeopardy, and they knew. I understand that we can't lead zero-emission lives just yet, but we need to start somewhere. The government needs to lead the way. It should have our best interest in mind. When I was growing up, I didn't understand that I had the capacity to be heard in the political system. Now I do. Activism is both fighting to change what doesn't like the system and working within the system to make active change. There is a balance. For much of history, governments felt they had an inherent duty to protect resources. They call it public trust. The public trust is part of the basis of our lawsuit. We're asking the court to make the government do the right thing for us now and for all the people in the future. Our prayer for relief, what we want, is for the court to tell the government to create the national plan to stabilize the climate system. Our prayer is for relief that the government protect the visual resources that all of us depend on and all of us will depend on long in the future. This is our prayer.
Thank you, Emma. And let's thank all of these amazing children. And remember that the children who brought the lawsuit are like these children. They represent all of us. Now let's rise in body or spirit and sing the Unitarian Universalist song about this beautiful planet, Blue Boat Home. That affirms our respect for the interdependent web of life on this beautiful planet. Let us remember. Not that long ago, there was no such thing as curbside recycling. Life is full of challenges, but let us remember, just when we may begin to lose hope, something unexpected appears. Others who may be unknown to us also care, also love, also work to make this planet Earth a home for all creatures, a haven for all living things. As we do what we can, let us remember and let us hope.